Yo, what's up everybody? My name is Lance. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, please, if it's not too much to ask, go hit that subscribe button. I would love for you to come join the fam we got going on over here. We're small, but we're growing slowly but surely, so I would love to have you come join the little family over here. There's a lot of good people over here. We talk about real shit, we keep it real, and would love to have you. So if you could just click that subscribe button, that would mean the world to me. Also, before we get into this video real quick, I wanted to mention that I've had several people ask me about if I had like a PO box or a mailing address to send me stuff, which by the way blew my mind. Like, you guys are amazing. I swear I have the best subscribers and viewers ever. Like, to send me stuff, that just blows my mind. Like, I would never expect that. That's amazing. Just a little disclaimer, like, you guys don't have to send me nothing. Don't ever feel like you have to send me anything. The only reason I'm even bringing it up is because I had several people ask me if I had an address or a PO box, which I do. So if I can get the editing to work, I'm gonna pop that information up here on the screen, the information where you can send me stuff. If you want to, you do not have to. And it'll also be in the description box down below. And I'll put that information in the description box on every video, so that if you are ever looking for it, you'll be able to find it there. I already had 2 people send me stuff, and I'm just so, you guys, I'm so humbled and I'm so grateful. I teared up when I got that stuff in the mail. I got 2 packages. One of them's a pretty big box. So first of all, thank you to the 2 people who sent me stuff. You guys are amazing. I literally cried. I teared up because I would just never expect that, and I'm not used to that. I'm just not used to that. So thank you guys so much. I have not opened anything yet. I figured I would put the address out there and wait a couple weeks or like a month, and if anybody else wanted to send me anything, you do not have to, but if anybody wanted to send anything, whether it's letters, cards, or you want to send me a box full of stuff that you got, whatever the case may be, and I'll kind of put all that together, and then I would film a video and come on here and open it in front of everybody and show you guys kind of what I got and what you guys sent me. I think that'd be really fun and really cool. So thank you again, and you do not have to send me anything. So I just wanted to make that quick announcement before we got into this video. Alright. So just a little fun fact about me. I'm a true crime junkie, right? Like, I love anything that has to do with true crime. I love watching Dateline. I love watching Frontline. I love watching all them shows, Mugshots, anything that has to do with like true crime. I also love serial killers. I think they're fascinating, not in a creepy way, but just in like the psychology matter of it. And it shocks me that those people are actually real and they're out here amongst us, and I just find that very fascinating. So anything to do with true crime, I'm always watching. Dateline is like my favorite show. I watch that all the time on YouTube and on TV. So today I thought I would do something a little bit different with you guys. I thought I'd just put the addiction and the recovery stuff to the side for a minute. My channel is mostly going to be all surrounded by addiction and recovery, but today I wanted to do a true crime video and see if you guys like it. This is a case that I'm going to tell you about that I find absolutely fascinating and crazy and shocking, and I think you guys are going to find it crazy as well, because it is. There's just no way around it, and I would love to hear. So I'm just going to kind of tell you guys about the case, tell you about everybody involved, what happened, and then at the end I'll probably tell you, some of my thoughts and opinions on the case. And I would love to hear also, after the video is done, the comment section is all yours. I want to hear. I know you guys are thinkers like me. You're going to have opinions, and I want to hear all about it in the comments below. So let's get into the video. I hope you guys like it, and here we go. Alright guys, so the case I'm going to be telling you about today is a very tragic story about a young girl named Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Now, Gypsy was very sick from the time she was born. I mean, as a little baby, they knew right away that she had a lot of different illnesses and disorders. Her mother and father split when she was very young, and her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, ended up becoming her caretaker, and that was who Gypsy went to live with. Her father was not completely out of the picture. She saw her father from time to time, but because her parents were separated, she was with her mother most of the time, and that's who took care of her. Okay, so as I said before, Gypsy was born very, very sick. She had a number of different illnesses, you guys. I mean, she went to public school until about second grade, and then because of her illnesses, she was pulled out of public schools, and she was then homeschooled by her mother, Dee Dee, from that point on. Um, Her list of illnesses include, and there's a lot, you guys. Here are some, but this is not limited to all of them. She had hearing impairment. She couldn't hear good. Vision impairment. She couldn't see good. She had digestive problems, gastrointestinal problems. She had a feeding tube in her stomach, inserted into her stomach, and that was where all of her food was ingested in her medications through the feeding tube in her stomach. She was mentally retarded. And her mentality was about age 7. On top of that, she had leukemia, and she was a quadriplegic. So she was in a wheelchair, and she was paralyzed from the waist down. Her legs did not work whatsoever. And those are just a few of the illnesses that this poor girl had. I mean, she was really, really sick. And she was on tons of medication. I think she took as many as like 20 medications a day. And all those medications went through her feeding tube. And I mean, there was some hardcore medications on there, including anxiety medications like Xanax, painkillers, muscle relaxers, and a bunch of other stuff for constipation, for the leukemia, I mean, the list goes on and on. And this poor girl was very, very, very sick. And because Gypsy was so sick, the community really fell in love with this little girl who was suffering, and so many different organizations and hospitals and the fire department and all these people rallied around Gypsy and her mother and really helped them out financially with their finances, their medical bills, and everything else. And the community just fell in love with her. And there was different health conventions that Gypsy and Dee Dee would go to, and Gypsy loved to sing, so she would sing at these conventions, and they would speak, her and her mother would speak, and there was fundraisers that all these people put together. Teams of people did fundraisers to help raise money for this family, and all that money went directly to Dee Dee and Gypsy for all their expenses, whatever it may be, as well as there was a website for Gypsy where you could go and donate money, and that money would go directly to Gypsy and her mother. As well as, because she was so sick, her life expectancy was only 18 years old. They did not think she was going to live to be older than 18 years old. So people felt really bad for her, and they wanted her to enjoy the years that she had. So all these companies and people rallied around, as I said, and her mother went on very luxury vacations. They got flown around the country. They went to Disney World, Disneyland, got to stay at luxury hotels, travel expenses paid, food expenses paid, you name it. People really, really rallied around this little girl and her mother because people felt bad. She was so sick, and this was just an adorable little mother-daughter pair who people wanted to help out, and that's exactly what people did. So time went by, and Dee Dee continued to take care of Gypsy, her little girl. Everything seemed fine, and then one day, all of a sudden, everything took a really, really dark turn. So Gypsy and Dee Dee had a Facebook page that they both shared together. And one night, randomly on this Facebook page, there was a random status posted by them that said something along the lines of, "That fat bitch is dead." So people started freaking out that were friends of theirs on Facebook, because they knew that this was something that Dee Dee and Gypsy would never post. So people got really concerned, and everyone was, commenting, asking, "What's wrong? Why are you talking like that? I've never heard you speak like that. What's going on? Da da da." And then there was a reply from their Facebook page, something along the lines of, and I will post these exact statuses so that you guys can see, but it was something along the lines of, "I slashed that fat fucking pig. She's dead. Oh, and I raped her sweet little daughter. She screamed so fucking loud. LOL." Something along those lines. Very disturbing. And people were shocked. They were known just to be, this nice little mother-daughter couple. So people were like, what is going on? So randomly, we don't know who it was, somebody made an anonymous call to the local police department to go and do a wellness check on Gypsy and her mother. They thought something was odd, something might be wrong, so the local police department ended up going to Dee Dee and Gypsy's house to do a wellness check. So they knocked on the door and there was no answer at the door. Eventually, police let themselves in, and when they went into the house, they found Dee Dee, the mother, on her bed, dead. And she was clearly murdered. She had blood. There was blood everywhere. She had like 40 to 50 stab wounds all down her back, her stomach, her entire body, and she was dead. And people were like, whoa, and then they looked around the rest of the house and Gypsy was not there. Now remember, Gypsy was paralyzed from the waist down. She couldn't walk. She was in a wheelchair. So she's not there. People are thinking she couldn't have got too far on her own. Somebody must have taken her. And then they thought about the status that said, I slashed that fat bitch and raped her sweet daughter. So they're thinking somebody came in, killed her mother, and then raped her, and then kidnapped her. And this sparked a giant search in the community, and hundreds of people came out to search for Gypsy. And basically, she couldn't be found. They ended up finding her. She was a couple states away in Wisconsin, and she was at a house with a young man named Nicholas Godejohn. And police, picked her up and brought her to the police station to let her know that her mother had been murdered and to find out what the situation was. And they brought Gypsy into the interrogation room, and they were very, very shocked and surprised to see when they pushed Gypsy's wheelchair into the room. Gypsy then stood up and perfectly fine walked with her 2 legs into the interrogation room and sat down. She walked, and people's jaws dropped. So now police and family and everybody knows that this little girl, who apparently was paralyzed from the waist down, wheelchair bound her entire life, can now walk and stand on her own 2 feet perfectly fine. And then everybody starts thinking, if they were lying about this for this long, what else could they have possibly been lying about? And that's when the investigation just explodes, and everything that they thought they knew gets flipped 360, and everything comes out. The truth all starts to come out. So let me just give you a little background on Nicholas Godejohn, which was, again, the guy that they found Gypsy at his house. And let me give you a little background on their relationship and how that all came. So Nicholas Godejohn was a young guy, I think about in his mid-20s. He was a little bit older than Gypsy, and according to his stepmom and according to his mother and his stepfather, he was a very troubled guy himself. He had a past with the law. He had been in trouble in the past for sitting in a McDonald's restaurant watching porn and jerking off and fondling himself for 9 hours straight. He was arrested and charged for that a couple years prior. He also was very mentally slow. He was autistic, diagnosed autistic, and had Asperger's syndrome. So he was not all fully there. And you have to remember, Gypsy, and by this time, when she had gotten pulled in by the police, she was 22 years old, but she had no idea, because her entire life, Dee Dee was lying to Gypsy about her age. She had absolutely no idea. And you have to remember that Gypsy was only with Dee Dee 24/7, She was a teenager. She was a young adult. She had no social life whatsoever, no friends, nobody to hang out with except for her mother 24/7. And that started to drive Gypsy crazy. She started to go crazy at the house. So she began to live a life on the internet, like a lot of us do, right? And so when her mother would go to sleep, one night she went onto a Christian website where you can meet people, and she came across this profile of Nicholas Godejohn, and she said that she thought he was really cute and she liked what she saw, and she was hesitant, but she sent him a message saying something like, I'm really embarrassed, but I thought it would be kind of cool to meet new people and maybe find love one day. And lo and behold, Nicholas, going through whatever he's going through in his life, gets the message, thinks that she's beautiful, and they end up talking and forming an online relationship. Now, their relationship was pretty much 95% strictly all over the internet. Nicholas claims he has multiple personalities, so Gypsy went ahead and she made up several different individual personalities to match all his personalities. Just real fucked up stuff, but they basically fell in love through the internet. So investigators continued to question Gypsy and Nicholas, both of them, and in the beginning, Gypsy's playing as if she has no idea and she loves her mother and she doesn't know what happened and she doesn't know why they would blame her. And Nicholas right away, he was very honest and he said, "Yeah, Gypsy asked me to kill her mother and I killed her." And once Gypsy was told that, then she, came around and started admitting to it, but said that she had nothing to do with it, that it was Nicholas and not her. So at this point, investigators are wondering, what the reason was. Like for this girl to want her mother dead, there had to be a major, major reason. Was there some kind of abuse going on there? And that's when things really hit the fan. So they start investigating and they hear from several doctors that testify and family members and this and that about how Gypsy's basically been being abused since she was a baby. How she was not sick at all. How doctors had suspected it, but Dee Dee was such a manipulator that she manipulated every doctor into diagnosing her with all these things. She could walk perfectly fine. She did not have leukemia. She was not sick in any way, shape, or form. She did not need any medication, nothing. Her mother basically turned her into a sick zombie for her own emotional benefit and financial benefit. All that money she got from all those people, all them trips that they took, that was all for Dee Dee. Gypsy was never sick. She had been being abused since she was a little child. Fed medications and medications, surgery after surgery after surgery that she did not need. Dee Dee was a monster. Her mother was a monster. And let me just give you a little background on Dee Dee. You hear in the documentary from several family members of Dee Dee. You hear from a nephew, you hear from her own real father and her stepmother and a bunch of other people. Nobody in Dee Dee's family liked her or wanted to speak with her. In fact, the word that they all used for Dee Dee was that she was evil. I guess Dee Dee had been in trouble in the past for shoplifting. I guess America's Most Wanted was looking for Dee Dee at one point. Because she had warrants in several different places, New Orleans, Slidell, a whole bunch of places that if she would have stepped foot into any of them places, she would have been arrested on the spot. Dee Dee was not a good person whatsoever. It came out that at one point she was poisoning her stepmother, her father's wife, with Roundup, which is a weed killer that you put in plants to kill weeds. Very, very dangerous, very deadly. Gave that to her stepmother, tried poisoning her. Her stepmother was bedbound and almost died for 9 months straight. They didn't think she was going to make it out. And they knew that Dee Dee did it the whole time, and Dee Dee got away with it. Her stepmother lived, but that's just the point I'm trying to give you guys. The whole entire time she was abusing her daughter for her own emotional benefit and her own financial benefit. Gypsy was completely fine. You see Gypsy come on later on after she gets arrested, she goes to court and this and all that, and then she sits down to do an interview like a year later, and her hair is all grown out, She never had leukemia. She wasn't even really taking cancer meds. Her mother would lie to her and say, "Oh, I gave you your cancer meds, your chemo medication, so your hair's going to fall out anyway. We might as well buzz it, shave it off, and make it look neat." And her mother would shave her head constantly. She never had hair her entire life. It comes out that Dee Dee would tell Gypsy that your legs don't work. Your legs don't work. When anybody comes around, you sit in that wheelchair, you do not move your legs. And even as far as to when she would take Gypsy to the doctor, and the doctor would examine her legs. She would tell Gypsy, "You do not move your legs, not a muscle. If the doctor comes over near you and tries moving your legs, you let him move them completely. You do not move a muscle." And Gypsy did whatever her mother said because she was scared. In fact, Gypsy was not in on this. The only thing that Gypsy knew is that she could walk, but her mother told her never to walk in front of anybody, and she didn't understand why that was. But later on, she caught on. That's the only thing. She knew that she could walk. Other than that, Gypsy her entire life really thought she was going to die at 18. She really thought that she was dying from leukemia. She really thought her hair was falling out. She really thought all these things that her mother told her. And nobody caught on. The doctors, the police. At one point, there was a complaint that somebody had called into the police that they thought Gypsy might have been being abused because people suspected it. People saw things, Doctors even saw things. There was reports written where they believed that there was some Munchausen by proxy going on. If you don't know what that is, that's an illness that usually women have where they will cause harm or embellish sickness on their child for their own financial and emotional gain. It's a really fucked up disorder that quite a few women have had. There's a lot of cases involving Munchausen by proxy. This is definitely one of the most severe cases. Dee Dee had Munchausen by proxy and was abusing Gypsy the entire time. I mean, nobody was there to help this girl. Everybody who could have helped her, doctors who are supposed to help you, were manipulated by Dee Dee. They couldn't help Gypsy. The police came to her house a couple different times, and Dee Dee did what she does best. Manipulated the police, showed them a couple documents, some medications, told them that Gypsy was, mentally retarded. She doesn't know anything that she's talking about. She's not going to make sense. Da 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 da. And the police left. Her own father, who suspected things, was in a really fucked up situation, couldn't help her. Nobody was there to help this girl. And lo and behold, she meets Nicholas Godejohn, and then everything comes together and she snaps. So because so many people failed her and everybody failed her, the police, the doctors, her family, there was nobody there to help Gypsy. She had absolutely nowhere to turn to. She turned to Nicholas Godejohn, the love of her life at that time. And one night, I guess, and we're told this by Gypsy, she does an interview from jail, and she tells the story of what happened. So one night, she was at home with her mother, Dee Dee. They had gotten into some kind of an argument that night, and then they ended up making up, and everything was fine. And this whole time, she was talking to Nicholas through text, and she was saying, or she had previously been talking to Nicholas and planning this out the entire day and a couple days before that. And she had scraped up, enough money to get him on a bus and get him to where she was living at the time. And they knew the whole thing was going to go down. And Gypsy explains that her and her mother got into that fight, they made up, and she was talking with Nicholas the whole time, and he basically texted her, I'm here, I'm in Springfield. And at that point, she knew that it was real and that shit was about to go down. And I'll post the text up here so you guys can read along with me and see exactly what happened. It's pretty chilling. So I guess Dee Dee ended up falling asleep pretty late. And the last thing, I guess, before Dee Dee went to sleep that she said to Gypsy was, because they had gotten into a fight and they were all riled up and everything, and Dee Dee said to her, alright, I'm feeling more relaxed now, I think I'm gonna fall asleep. And she started dozing off and falling asleep, and the last words that she said to Gypsy was, please don't hurt me. Those were her last words, please don't hurt me. And Gypsy knew the whole time what was going down that night. So Nicholas had texted, I'm here, I'm in Springfield, and she said, something along the lines of, okay, the door squeaks pretty loud, so make sure when you open it, just close it quietly. And then she said, I'm gonna leave the gloves and the knife inside for you, da da da. And I can't remember off the top of my head speaking to you guys exactly what the text said, but they're up on the screen. And then he, basically said, okay, I'm here, I'm at the house, get your ass into the bathroom and open the door. And then that's exactly what Gypsy did. And she explains that she went into the bathroom, she had opened the door for him, ran into the bathroom, and she sat down in a fetal position in the corner of the bathroom, and she plugged her ears as hard as she could. And she states that she heard him come in, and she heard her mother wake up, and she heard some tuffling and rustling around, and then she ended up hearing her mother get up and scream her name. She was screaming, Gypsy, Gypsy, help me, help me. And she heard a struggle. Again, she had her ears closed completely, so she couldn't hear, but it was loud enough that she could hear. And she heard her mother yelling her name for help, and then all of a sudden there was silence. Now the fucked up part about this is, I guess, Nicholas had agreed, to kill Dee Dee for her, but he said, I'm gonna kill her, but I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna stab her, kill her, and then I'm gonna rape her. And Gypsy states that she did not want him to rape her mother. Gypsy was in love with Nicholas at this point. She didn't want that to happen, so Gypsy made an agreement with Nicholas that, okay, kill her, and then I'll let you rape me and take the aggression out on me. So according to Gypsy, that's what happened. He killed her, then he came into the bathroom, and he raped her. Nicholas claims that it was consensual, that, she allowed it to, and she admits that she did tell him that he could rape her, but then he started getting very aggressive and biting her. There was bite marks on her, and it was becoming way too aggressive for her, and she was yelling to him, stop, stop. And he didn't stop at that point, so she considers it to not be consensual after a certain point. So anyways, that's what happened. And after that, they stole about $6,000 from Dee Dee, and they ended up leaving. They took a taxi to a hotel, and they stayed at a hotel for 2 nights. And then after that, they took a bus to Nicholas's mother's house, and that's where they were staying for the few days until they were apprehended. And they also, before they left Gypsy and Dee Dee's house, they took the knife and some other things, the knife that he used to kill her and a couple other things, and put them in a big manila envelope and mailed them to Nicholas's mother's house so that they didn't have to carry them with them on the travel. So they mailed it, and that package showed up at Nicholas's house, and the police ended up apprehending that as well. So they had the murder weapon, they had, the confessions and whatnot. So basically that's the story, you guys. It's really, really crazy. And then I don't know if I explained it, but Dee Dee's own family wanted nothing to do with her. She was cremated. Her whole family was like, I don't care what you do with the ashes. Flush the fucking ashes down the toilet for all we care. She got what she deserved. She's been abusing everybody in the family for her entire life, and abusing Gypsy and everybody, her own stepmother, father, and her own siblings, her own nephew was like, we think that Dee Dee got what she deserved, and we don't think Gypsy should serve any prison time. We think that she should walk. She's been through enough. We think that she should, be sent home. So the end of it is that Gypsy ended up going to trial, and she was facing, some serious time, but the prosecutors and, her defense got together, and she ended up taking a plea agreement on 10 years, and so that was her sentence for 10 years, and she'll have to serve 85% of that sentence, so she will be out by the time she's about 32 years old, which is, not too bad. What do you guys think? My opinion is that I think that 10 years is a fair sentence, because regardless of how much this girl was abused, I think no murder is justified, but at the same time, it's like, where would she have cried out for help? There was nobody to help her. She tried, and Dee Dee manipulated everybody. The police didn't believe a word that Gypsy said. She had nobody to go to tell that she had been being abused. Like, her mother had that grip on her, like a real tight grip from the time she was a little girl. So she felt this was her only way out and the only way to turn. I think 10 years is a fair sentence. But also, if she would have walked free and got probation or something, I think I would have been okay with that too, because I do not think she's a danger to anybody else. I think that her mother was a monster, and that was her main target, and that was the only reason that she did what she did. Now her father is a great man. He's in her life now. He visits her regularly. And as soon as she gets out of prison, she will be going to live with her father and starting her life. This girl's going to be a 32-year-old woman, just basically starting her life over brand new, because she hasn't lived the life of an adult. She was forced to be a little kid up until the age of 22. She was literally, her mother used to dress her in little girl clothes, shave her head. At the end of the day, she's a girl, she's an adult female. She has sexual desires. She probably wants to, wear makeup and do her hair and go on dates and maybe start a career. There's probably things and hobbies and careers that she's interested in, and she was not allowed to do any of that because Dee Dee had to use her and make her sick and use her for her own financial and emotional benefits. So I'm going to cut this short. This is a long video. I hope you guys enjoyed. There's a couple other cases that I love. Again, I love true crime, and I would love to do a couple more of these. If you guys liked it, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. Alright guys, I got more videos coming for you soon. Just stay tuned.